you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. And now, a man whose 2020 hindsight is exceedingly infinite. I'm your host, Chris Voss. Welcome to the show, everyone. We just really appreciate you guys having it on there. Unlike most people's 2020 hindsight, mine is exceedingly infinite. So there you go. Put that on your calendar. I don't know what the fuck that means. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. You know the drill. We always have amazing people on the show. We have an amazing entrepreneur on the show. He's going to be talking about his latest book and all the different companies and stuff he does. Give us some insights on how to be a great entrepreneur. But in the meantime, share the show with your family, friends, and relatives. We've been loving some of the 5-star reviews we get on iTunes. Go to iTunes. Go over there and say, hey, you know, I'm going to do Chris a solid, do a 5-star review up there. And you know, say something good about the show or good about me. I know there's not a lot of things you can find good about me, but you know, maybe say something like the show's got cool graphics or something, or good audio or something. You know, just be nice for hell's sakes. Anyway, I'm just begging at this point. Anyway, guys, youtube.com/Chris Voss, goodreads.com/Chris Voss, the LinkedIn group, all those crazy places on the internet. Here today, we have an amazing guest on the show. As always, we only have amazing guests on the show, or else we don't have them on the show. That's how the show works. He is the author of the amazing new book. Can I say amazing one more time? The book is called Assessing Your True Potential: 4 Core Principles to Being the Best Version of You. Boy, I should probably need these as well. Vittorio Calabrese is on the show with us today. Some people call him Victor, so we'll be referring to him that as the show. He just put out this book on October 4th, 2022, so it's still hot off the presses. You can get a hold of it and check it out. Victor comes from varied background that includes everything from teaching to multiple C-level positions. His curiosity and drive to learn is accumulated into a book that we just talked about and we'll be discussing on the show. His first love and passion has always been technology, which is why he currently owns and operates a technology company, amzn.to, as well as a business consulting firm, concierge.com. And do I have that correct in the pronunciation?
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
There you go. Did it always have a K? I thought it had a C.
It did. We changed it just to make a play on words.
There you go. Well, you know, concierge. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. He is an outspoken leader who wants to help other business owners understand and leverage the right technology while staying away from people and companies that give them a false sense of security. Welcome to the show, Victor. How are you?
Good, Chris. Thank you for having me on. Really excited.
There you go. And I'm having flashbacks to my favorite movie now, The Godfather, which is the greatest movie of all time, of course. We all know that. So give us any .coms where you want people to find you on the interwebs, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over social media. Deskside.com for my company. accessingyourtruepotential.com is if you want to find out more about the book. And we are pretty much on every single social media channel out there, either under Victor Calabrese or under Deskside TSP.
There you go. So do I hire concierge consulting services when I got to bury a body? Is that how it works?
No, we got out of that business a couple of years ago. We're strictly strategy and technology now.
Yeah. Well, Victor, you are Italian. What village in Italy do you come from? Your family?
So I'm from the island of Sicily, a town called Agrigento. Agrigento is the southernmost tip of Sicily. I'm as close to Africa as you can get without being in Africa.
Wow. Note to self, don't piss off Victor or else. He's from Sicily. So there you go. So you've done a lot of different things. You're currently the president of IT services company. I found this kind of interesting. You have a chemistry degree as well, and multiple IT degrees. And this is kind of cool. You weighed over 350 pounds at one point in your life. I know what that feels like. And you lost a lot of weight. I mean, maybe you should do a book on weight loss. That's pretty good.
It's in there. It's in the Access True Potential for the first couple of chapters.
Oh, there you go. So it is in your story, and you were born in Italy, migrated to the U.S. when he was only 6 years old. Boy, this sounds like The Godfather Part 2. I think. Did they choose your name for you at the? No, that was like an old thing they did. So welcome to the show. Let's talk about a little bit about your upbringing. What brought you to America? Do you kind of feel like maybe you're part of the American dream? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing. What made you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, we came to the United States, like I said, when I was 6 years old. My sister was 5. My little brother was 11 months. We migrated just because it's a better place to live, right?
Yeah. Now, Victor, do I need to play The Godfather throughout this whole thing you're describing?
You absolutely can. One of my favorite movies as well. So, I grew up in Brooklyn. So
there you go.
I went to school with some characters, so I'm familiar enough with the whole movie and the people around it. Anyway, let's get off that topic. So we might have
a bunch of people call you to bury.
Yeah, that's exactly. No name dropping.
I got a favor I need to ask you for.
Yeah, no more favors. So we came to this country when I was 6 years old. My father's always been an entrepreneur. And he struggled his way from being a baker all the way to owning his own company when we came to the States. Wow. And I saw that up and down of entrepreneur. And when I graduated college, I said, there is no freaking way I am going to be an entrepreneur. And I went out and I said, I'm getting a job. And I did really good. I was a C-level executive by the time I was 27 years old for a $55 million a year construction company. Mm-hmm. I did good for myself, but I wasn't happy.
Sounds like you had your father's work ethic at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, he taught me a lot. He told me that there's no such thing as a 9 to 5 if you want to be successful. So there was a lot of things that he taught me. But I didn't want the ups and downs of that entrepreneur life. So I started working and I did good. But I wasn't happy, Chris. There was something missing in my life. I was making a lot of money for those owners. Not that I wasn't doing well for myself, but I was doing a lot better for them, right?
Yeah.
So at one point I really took a hard look at everything. And I was older. I had 5 kids.
Oh,
I was 42 years old, and I said, you know what? I sold my house, and I started my own businesses.
There you go. That's a hell of a time to start, my friend.
Yeah, well,
especially with the overhead of 5 kids, man.
Yeah, it was definitely a rough. But you know what? Being an entrepreneur is rough. I don't care when you start. There's a lot of grinding. I mean, there's different times in your life, and I had the benefit of the experience, right? So when I started my businesses, I knew all the things. I was already an executive. I knew a lot of things about business as compared to a 20-year-old who knows nothing. They're going to struggle. I know a friend of mine started a business when he was 17 years old, right? And it took him almost 20 years to get that business successful because of all the things he had to learn along the way.
Wow.
Luckily, I didn't have to learn all those things. I knew what it was to run a business because I was running it for other people. So I had that benefit, that going for me. So we started going. I did make one mistake. I started more than one business at the same time. Yeah. And they all lit up. So they're all doing great.
That's awesome.
Super happy.
Well, it sounds like it worked then.
Yeah, it works. I mean, if you're passionate over something and, you have that work ethic, you're going to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, I started my first company when I was 18, and then our first multi-million-dollar company with my business partner hit at about 22. And I remember saying to him, we're like, should we do this? And I said, look, I don't know, man, but I look at my old man, and I don't know what he was, but I says, I don't think I'm going to have the energy to start a company when I, do this whole parachute out of companies when you're 60 and golden parachute out, I do the corporate life and then go start a company when you're 50 or 60. And I'm 55, I'll turn 55 in January. And I can tell you, I don't have a lot of energy for this shit anymore to start a company. So, yeah. I mean, I have the brains for it. It's like, you just know what to do. You can do it in your sleep. Mm-hmm. But, just the energy, you're like, oh, for love of God, can we just hire all this out? And but yeah, it's harder to do when you get older. It's much like having kids. Like I had a friend who had his first kid, and he had twins when he was 36, and trying to, he's like, nah, man, I know why people do this when they're young. So you start your businesses, and let's talk about the book, and then we'll get into some of your business. What have you packed in this book? What is it going to help people with? Obviously, it's targeting their potential.
Yeah. So back around when I was 42 years old, I was in that transition phase between, starting my businesses and getting out of that whole world. And I had some free time on my hands. And I sat down one day. I'm an avid reader. I've read close to 350 books in my life, between listening and reading. And I sat down one day at my desk, and I remember thinking to myself, it's going to take my children a similar amount of time to acquire the knowledge I have to be just at where I am today. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? That can't happen. And that's where the idea for the book came in, right? I started thinking is how can I fast track their education? How can I put all this accumulated information into one book that they can actually use? And that's what Accessing Your True Potential is all about. It's all about the things I've learned in the 42 years and all the books I've read of how to actually access that person that's inside your head. Everybody's got it, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes that person shows up in a meeting and you're like, damn, I was good. Where'd that come from? Other times you don't know why you just failed to show up at that meeting or that seminar. And I know why. I know that there is things you have to put in your life to get what I call wheel spinning in order to get access to that true potential over and over and over again.
Definitely. And you talk about 4 principles in the book that people can use. Let's touch on those a little bit. People need to go buy the book to figure them all out, of course, but let's touch on what the 4 are.
Yeah. So I broke it up into 4 core principles or 4 wheels that I say in the book that you have to get spinning. And the faster those wheels spin, the better you get at accessing your true potential in health, clarity, peace, and power. So health is all around fitness and nutrition, right? I used to be 350 pounds. I know what it's like when you're, massively obese to where I got to the point that I was 170 pounds ready to get on a bodybuilding stage, right? So I got to that entire thing. So I highlight the things in nutrition and fitness that are super important that even if you don't want to be on stage, bodybuilder or a top athlete, you should do in order to just be that better version of yourself. Clarity is all around effective routines, right? Things that we have to put in our lives in order to make sure that we get our mind clear. Mm-hmm. And that includes stuff like your sleep needs, your bedtime routine, your wake up routine. There's a bunch of things in the book that we cover. Peace is around 2 different aspects. One is about spiritual health. Doesn't matter what your religion is. There is a spirituality that we all kind of chase. And the other one's about family and relationships. There's a really important things that you have to have awareness of in your life in order to keep that peace in your heart. And family and relationships have a big part of it. Power is my favorite wheel. That's all around continuous learning. You have to keep learning your entire life. I talk about neuroplasticity. I talk about how your brain actually starts aging faster when you stop learning. I start talking about the different ways that you could learn. Actually, watching TV is a method of learning. Podcasts, a great method of learning. YouTube. There's so many different ways. Just never stop learning and try to keep that information gathering going.
I can tell you that's really true. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love my podcast is I get to sit in front of authors like you who've done, 10,000, 100,000 hours plus, studying, researching what they do. And I get like the juice. I get the core juice from you guys, and I get to learn so much. Like every day I just learn new stuff, and I love learning new stuff. And Audible's another way that I like to consume. So these are pretty awesome and can help people. A lot of people don't worry about the peace part. Man, if you don't have peace in your life, like I can't deal. I have to have my peace. Like you do not cross my line with peace. If you cross my peace and respect line, you go back to your house and you get timed out for a while on the rotation. With health, I'm just kind of curious. I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm sure it's in your book. But how did you lose all the weight? Did you do intermittent fasting, heroin, crack?
I've done it all, Chris. I've done it all, and I talk about the biggest mistake I made in my life. I did have gastric bypass.
Okay,
Which
there you
was a big mistake, and I go through in the book why I feel it's a mistake. Because one of the things I do talk about is that being obese and having a weight problem is more of a psychological issue. And I tried fixing a psychological. You're actually addicted to food. That's the problem that you're having. And I tried fixing a psychological issue with a physical method, right? Somebody operating you. That doesn't work. There's plenty of people that have had gastric bypass that turn around and gain the weight back.
Yeah, they gain it back. Yeah.
Yeah. So the real way I lost weight is understanding food, understanding nutrition, understanding fitness. Now I'm not where I used to be, right? I went to the other extreme and I was a complete gym rat. But now I do have my Peloton. I do go on walks. I do take time with my kids. So I have a fitness routine in my life. I also understand what I'm putting in my mouth. I understand carbs and proteins and fats. And it's really important for people just to get that basic knowledge, stuff that, again, they don't teach in schools these days, which is absolutely crazy. But those are things that you need to understand in order to understand what you're putting. It's okay to go to McDonald's. Just understand what you're doing and understand how much of that you can do without affecting your body negatively.
Yeah, and that crap isn't nutrition in any way, shape,
No,
or form.
it's not.
It's really just garbage. It's a pile of salt, really, when you think about it.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting to me. I've lost 100 pounds twice now. People don't realize that sometimes you're just hungry because you're dehydrated, or sometimes you need some electrolytes or some salt, basically. And that's why you go for those salty foods. A lot of those foods are designed to kill you, or designed to addict you, just like a drug, just like opiates. So anything more you want to touch on the book? And let's talk about Desk Side, your company.
Yeah. The Desk Side is the evolution of the managed service provider. So a managed service provider are companies that come into small, medium, large businesses and outsource your IT.
Okay.
So I took that model. So I used to run another managed service provider before I started my own business, where they did just that, right? They were outsourced IT departments for small, medium businesses. But I saw a lack. I saw two things happening. I saw a lack in services, and I also saw a industry that takes advantage of their clients for the most part. They give them a false sense of security. A lot of them are one-man shops that have no business running IT for small businesses. That's the one that the kid comes out of college and Uncle Ben owns a business and say, Uncle Ben, give me a job. I can do your IT. And all of a sudden they start that company but they really don't have any business on it. So I saw that. And the biggest problem is that security or information technology is becoming really prevalent. Nobody was hearing about it just 20 years ago. Now it's like, who's getting hacked? How much money did they lose? Did they go out of business? And the solution in my industry, which is mind-boggling to me, was to create another company. So now you have MSPs and MSSPs. So you have managed service providers and managed security service provider. Now you got the small business that need both of them in order to get the benefit that they both offer, which I think is insane, right? If you're a decent technology company, you should be able to do both. So I merged them together. I coined myself a TSP, or a technology service provider. And we go in there and we take care of everything. Anything that a business has that has any kind of technology, we will take care of.
There you go. What size companies do you work with? People out there that are listening, how do they know if they're a good fit for you?
Yeah, I it's not the size of the company. I have a company that's 5 people, and I have a company that's about, I think they just went over the cusp of 1,000. But I go all over the place, and it depends. Varied services for every company. The more important thing that I look for is that me and the business owner jive. There's a lot of people that don't understand technology and don't care. And that's not the client for me. I want the client that wants to be educated, wants to understand what they're paying for. So that could help them not only with what they need, but also learn what they don't have and what their potential flaws may be.
What are you seeing are the biggest exposures, the biggest hacks? I mean, there's a lot of ransomware that goes around now. There's I mean, your employees can open you up to all sorts of problems if they click on a link. What are you seeing the big exploits and the big concerns for companies these days?
It's always been and will always be people. Your employees are the biggest vulnerability.
Those
Because
damn people.
yeah, I mean, hacking, not a lot of people know this, but hacking back in the early days used to be a social thing, and it still is a social thing, right? The early hackers used to get on the phone and talk to the gatekeeper, the secretary, the administrative assistant, trying to get information from them so they could walk in the door, or they can get that modem number, or they would just need a little bit of information. And it's the same exact thing today. The only thing that has changed is how they're going after this information, right? They're sending an email, it has a link on it. You click on it. Innocently enough, you got some ransomware on there. You don't have the technology on the network to stop it. You don't have the technology on your servers to stop it. You don't have the technology on your PC. You're not training your staff, and all of a sudden you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the services you provide? I can see some listed here on your website.
Yeah, I mean, we truly, my website, and I hate being like that because I like simplicity in life. It has so much. I mean, anything that is technology, we will take care of for a company. But some of the services that we have is we'll take care of all the endpoint devices, make sure they're running, they're patched, that there's no security vulnerabilities. We will take care of training and testing your staff. We will take care of any kind of project. If you have a server on site that you want to get into the Azure cloud, we'll take care of that. It's truly anything and everything that is technology within a business.
There you go. Here's some lists of some of the things here. Domain and email security, network and cloud security. I imagine that's a lot because that's usually how they hack in the system. Remote access services. So I guess you guys provide the ability to work safely and remotely with full access. That was the other thing I was going to bring up with you that we talk a lot about with authors and people on the show and IT professionals. Everyone's working remote now.
Yep.
Which is really hard because, sometimes they're on a family computer and, Johnny or Margaret's got, my sister used to sign up for every coupon code and every, one time she was like, "Hey, Chris, can you come on with my computer?" I'm like, "Sure, honey." And I went to her computer, and this is kind of back in the day when those button bars were out of control, the bookmark bars we would use. And she had so many bookmark bars. There was 5 or 6 of them. There's 10 of them, 15, and half the screen was the bookmark bars. And I think when I cleaned a computer, there was 3,000 or 4,000 bugs. I mean, she was bug central, and she's young, so she just freeze this, click on that. And now all these people they're not in the office, so they're not protected by that network security in the office. So you got people that are out and about, and Johnny decides to go click on whatever, and boom, there you go. You got all sorts of stuff going. I don't allow anybody on my computer, not even myself. I don't even trust me. So I just kind of look at it and I throw things at it. No, I'm just kidding. Identity management, security operations, and security awareness. So I imagine, there's a lot more exposure. It sounds like kind of a dumb setup, but it is. And there's more exposure with people working from home.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big deal, especially when COVID hit. Everyone had to do this remote from work. If you were planning on it, it's a little easier to make sure you have those security things in place to make sure that you're not that vulnerable. But when COVID hit and a lot of these businesses were caught with, oh my God, we got to keep the doors open, they started doing things just to get people access from their homes, which opened up a lot of security flaws. There's businesses that are still running like that, right? Jesus. So you're absolutely right. It is different. Security is a layered approach, right? And that's what I kind of tell everybody. You're never going to be 100% secure. SolarWinds got hacked. They're a multi-billion-dollar organization, right? There's IBM. There's all these companies that are huge that get hacked on a regular basis. So you're never going to be 100% secure. But what you have to do is understand your risk threshold and then be able to cover that risk threshold with different layers of security to meet your needs, right? So a baker doesn't need the same level of security that a banker, right? But you have to have a certain amount of layers. So whether that layer is firewall on your network, something on the end devices that is scanning, EDR is a big deal these days, which is early detection and response. Then you start going all the way up to MFA. MFA should be something that everybody has. I mean, there is no reason. If anybody out there has anything that has MFA capabilities, turn it on.
Mm-hmm. And what does MFA stand for?
Multi-factor authentication. So you'll probably have seen it with your bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your bank, you put in your username, put in your password, and then they'll either ask for a third PIN code that's going to your email, or it's from an app, or it's from some Ubico key.
Yeah, that's an important thing to have. I mean, I've got two-factor identification, everything. In fact, I think when I call it GoDaddy, there's like 3 levels I have to go through to get access to my stuff. But I love it because it's just more secure. And I have people all the time. I'll see people trying to hack our accounts. You'll get these messages saying, "Oh, your password wants to be reset. Do you request this?" And I'm like, No. Someone's busy and they're trying to get into my accounts. There's no money in my accounts at all. I have no money, so don't bother, please. You're just gonna find like a big whopping 0 in my accounts. Trust me. I put all my money in FTX. There you go. That should dissuade some people. Anyway, anything more we want to touch on about DeathSide and .com and how it works?
No, I mean, the other thing I like about that side, it is a passion of mine. What I tell people all the time is, don't be scared to reach out to me. I love helping people just to help people. This is not a sales pitch. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'll take your DM and I'll help you out as best I can. If it turns into business, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
There you go.
Because it's very complicated. It's not something that's simple that I could give you the recipe over a podcast or, in an email. So it's very specific to each one of your organizations.
There you go. Should we touch on consigliere.com?
Yeah. Consigliere is one of the relatively new companies. It's always been my consulting company. That's where I do a lot of my high-level strategic CIO, CTO kind of things, because many companies, as they grow, they don't fill those ranks until they're $50 million, $80 million, $100 million. So there's a lot of companies in there that don't have that CIO, CTO. So CIO would be internally facing technology. CTO would be externally facing technology, right? So if we're doing products for your clients, that CTO work. CIO is what apps and applications my employees are using. So we do a lot of consulting on that end, high level. I've always had it. I just haven't pushed it until recently. I mean, Consigliere's website's not even fully done yet. We just we're working on it.
There you go. What other company? I think you have 2 others that we want to touch on.
Yeah. So my wife's company, which is killing it, called prettyteepees.com. If you're in a Dallas Metroplex, definitely take a look at. We do sleepovers and spa parties for children. We started it right before COVID. We shut down for 2 months, and then after 2 months, we killed it. That company is exploding. It's doing really well. And we're starting to grow, right? So we're opening up another office in Fort Worth. We're looking at doing it in Orlando. So she's doing an amazing job, and it's a really great idea.
That's awesome. I mean, kids, man, they always need excitement, especially after being locked down in COVID, man. People need to get out and be humans again, do all that bit.
Yeah, well, this one's great because during COVID actually helped us. It's sad to say.
Wow.
But because when they shut down the Chuck E. Cheese's and they shut down, the Urban Air and all these places where you traditionally have those birthday parties because they were dangerous, we came in and we're doing all this stuff in people's houses, where they can maintain control. So we're going to people's houses and we're setting up, memory foam mattresses with the theme, and it looks fantastic. And you could have 12 girls over and have a sleepover. So it's really, really cool concept, and people love it.
And they can just go to the website and order it up or find out
more.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Dallas Metroplex right now, we're going to expand into Fort Worth real soon, and then into Florida, and then we'll work our way to the rest of the states. prettyteepees.com. They fill out a form, and then they get an estimate.
There you go. What else do we need to touch on? I think there was a 4th, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's other ones. They're in various stages of growth. The book is the biggest one. That's the 4th one, right?
Yeah, let's circle back to that then.
Yeah, what's funny is when you're talking about being tired, and I'm all over the place. I've got so much going on, and I wrote this book for my kids. Like, I had zero intention of making this into a business, But I had the book, I published it, and then it's like, you know what? A lot of people can actually use this. And what did it turn into? Another business. Now you got the marketing that you have to put behind it and the email campaigns and all the things that go into making a business successful. And it's turning into speaking engagements now. So, starting to get contacted by people to go and talk about the book and how it helped them and what we can do. We're looking at building seminars. There's a workbook that's available too that kind of flows with the book. So we're going to get into seminars, but it's a business. It's another business, and it takes time.
You have to have multiple businesses, especially if you're bored. But you have 5 kids and probably a wife, right? So you have plenty of gun at your head to rock and roll and do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to keep them happy. So.
My biggest problem is they've never had any of that, and so it's like, I'm just going along doing my thing. So maybe I should get a wife and 5 kids. Then I'd be like, shit, I gotta pay some damn bills around this place. But no, it's a good drive. It's good to share. The greatest thing about being an entrepreneur is being able to share your knowledge, share your wealth, inspire other people to be successful, give them a roadmap to being more successful. And I like the principles: health, clarity, peace, and power. Peace is a big thing for me. I have to have my peace. The older I get, the more I have to have my peace. I'm one of those people who, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like a bear coming out of hibernation from the winter, and I have to have a very strong cup of coffee. And then you have to kind of let me sit and do my thing for 2 hours and growl and bark and do whatever it is I do. And then you can probably talk to me about 2 hours after I wake up. And then I'm probably semi-social. I won't rip your arm off and eat it. But yeah, having your peace is really important. I don't think a lot of people realize that without peace, it's hard to think straight or get a good paradigm in your life.
Well, and they all work together, and that's the biggest thing. Is like, let's even talk about what you were saying, right? You wake up in the morning and you have this routine, your morning routine, right? But that took X amount of years for you to figure out what works for you, what to put in there, and then actually get it to the point to where you are today. And that's the problem I was trying to solve. It's like, how do we fast track people into getting all this stuff so they understand what's necessary to have health, to have clarity, to have peace, to have power in your life, right? And I put those things in the book so that people can understand it. Like a morning routine, super important. Just as important as your nighttime routine. A lot of people have morning routines and fail to have that nighttime routine, but that nighttime routine is super important because that's what gets you into that sleep. Because again, I talk about it in the book, sleep is really important. There's a lot of stuff that happen in your body while you're sleeping, right? That heal your body, get you ready so that when you wake up, you're not as groggy as you could be if you didn't get a good night's sleep.
Very true. In fact, I found I lost most of my weight getting 8 hours of sleep. And if I only didn't get 8 hours of sleep, I'd actually gain weight, and I would lose the weight when I would do it like a 2 or 3 hour nap in the afternoon. And sleeping is so important for your body. Like, a lot of people take it for granted. They're like, "Oh, I'll just drive through it." It's like, no, man, you need that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Yeah. I mean, people die. I will murder people, and the judge says I can't do it anymore. If I don't get my sleep, it doesn't go well for anyone, including me. But that or my coffee, that too. Yeah, people don't really pay attention to this stuff. And with weight loss, with just keeping your brain functioning, being a good person, I'm off if I don't get my sleep. Like, the whole day it'll just be like, and then
so how long do you wait before you have your coffee in the morning?
I have it immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the worst thing you could do.
I've tried to do something recently. I think someone that came on the show recommended it. They're like, try and drink a whole big thing of water first.
Yeah.
And I try, but it depends on how many people I want to murder when I wake up.
So there's chemicals that have you groggy, and if you don't give your body a chance after you wake up to get those chemicals out of your system, and the way you prevent that from happening is by having coffee immediately, then you'll have that 3 o'clock or that 12 o'clock. So you drink coffee, it stops these chemicals from reacting, so you feel like you're awake. And then when that coffee, that caffeine stops working, all those chemicals still need to be worked out of your system. And that's why people have that grogginess later on in your day.
So what do you usually recommend you start out with in the morning?
Just wait an hour. Honestly, if you give yourself an hour, I do. So your routine's really important. But I wake up, the first thing I do is brush my teeth, and I go and I meditate, right? So I'll sit there and I'll do my 15-minute meditation. By the time I brush my teeth, I do my meditation. That's a half hour, right? And then I go fix my coffee. But if you wait like an hour before actually introducing caffeine, it'll make a big difference.
I'll try it. That'll keep me off the murdering.
Yeah.
The judge says I got to stop the murder, and I get the ankle bracelet off next week. If I'm not on the show, people will know I got sentenced wrong. I'm just kidding. There's no murdering going on. That's a callback joke for a million shows. But no, I'll try it. I'll give it a whirl, man. I'll give it a whirl. I'm trying to lose some weight now and get ready for the big CES show that we have coming up in January. So I got to do a lot of walking and hoofing around and yeah, man, just inspiring what you did with weight. You went from 350 to 170?
Yeah, 350 to 170. The gastric bypass got me from, because I've lost 100 pounds, plus 100 pounds a couple times in my life. The gastric bypass was the one that got me from 350 to 220. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, man, this is not going to be what I thought it was. And the whole fitness and nutrition is really what got me in there, right? Getting up, walking, understanding what I was putting in my mouth. I mean, two things that I could tell your audience and yourself: sugar, vegetable oil. Get them out of your life. Those are the two worst things, and they do terrible things to your body. And when I say sugar, I also mean pasta, bread. I still eat pasta, but know how much and how often you're doing it.
That's got to be hard, being Italian
it's terrible.
To pasta and olive oil. Like, what the hell, man? It's like,
well, olive oil is good. It's the vegetable oil. Olive oil.
Vegetable oil. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, so do you still eat pizza?
Oh, it's my favorite food, man. It's like you can't give up pizza.
I was gonna say, man, it's gotta be freaking hard. So there you go. Anything where we go out?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Anything more you want to tease on or touch on before we go out?
Oh man, there's so much. The biggest one is never stop learning, man. And just these podcasts and anything you can on a constant basis. It is so important. And even if you get one thing out of every single podcast, you just become that one thing better in your life.
That's true. So refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Victor says it's awesome for you to do. When I first put the intro together on the Chris Voss Show, there was something that I had for the radio guy, and it went along the lines of there's a great intro that we have on the podcast, but there was something I had where it would make you more sexually potent and more interest and better in bed or something like that. And I cut it out of the show because I'm like, we're not going to have legit people come on this show with that in there. But I tried a few different ways to slide it in, at making it better and sexually in bed or something, just as a funny bit. But I'm like, yeah, I don't think I don't think we're going to have people on from, Pulitzer Prize winning people. People work for the president on that one. So we cut it. It hit the floor. But no, it does. Being educated more, understanding your world is, everything. I always tell people, unless you control or manage your world, you're the one being managed. So there you go. Yeah. Most husbands know what that means. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Victor. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Chris, this was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And a wonderful interview. And so fun is fun. Accessing your true potential. 4 core principles to bring the best version of you out. Don't buy the book that's brings the worst version of you out. Buy Victor's book for the best version out. September 28th, 2022. And I think on the hardcover, it's October 4th, 2022. Anyway, Victor, give us your plugs before we go out.
Yeah, absolutely. So find me at deathside.com. Victor Calabrese on LinkedIn, and then accessingyourtruepotential.com if you want to learn more about the book. And please don't be shy. I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm constantly getting DMs. Reach out.
There you go. And thanks for tuning in to my audience. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. All those places we have on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.